The Chapitos. The United States government is willing to pay over $20 million in rewards for information that could lead to the arrest of the world's most notorious drug dealers. Each of the 4 members of Los Chapitos has a $5 million bounty on their head, with the US government tracking their every move. Today, on the Wanted Fugitive, we're going to talk about who of these 4 Chapitos is the most likely to succeed El Chapo. The Chapitos are key conspirators against the government's war on drugs, but what makes them unique? Why is the government hell-bent on capturing the Chapitos? The answer's in the name. The 4 members of the notorious crime collective are sons of the former drug kingpin and leader of the Sinaloa cartel, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. At the time of Guzman's arrest in 1983, the Sinaloa cartel was the world's most powerful cartel. Together with his right-hand man, Ismael Zambada El Mayo Garcia, Guzman was the undisputed top drug kingpin in the entire world. The DEA estimated Guzman's influence being tenfold ahead of Pablo Escobar. The Sinaloa cartel would transport cocaine from Colombia into the United States through various channels in Latin America, with numerous stopovers in Mexico. Besides cocaine, the cartel was known for transporting heroin, marijuana, and methamphetamines into Chicago. The Chicago Crime Association named El Chapo as public enemy number 1, a distinction he holds with only one other man in history, Al Capone. Guzman lived a full life. He was married over 4 times, had numerous extramarital affairs, and fathered well over a dozen children. While some of his children were either abandoned or killed, 4 of them stood out. So much so, in fact, that Guzman started taking them to the Sinaloa cartel's warehouses and on operations while they were still in their early teens. A few of the Chapitos died. Edgar Guzman Lopez, for example, was fatally shot in 2008 after being ambushed at a shopping center, while several others reportedly left the thrill-filled life of drug trafficking behind. Guzman's oldest son, Cesar Guzman, has been unheard of since Guzman's 2016 arrest. Today, there are 4 active members of the Chapitos: Joaquin Guzman Lopez, Ovidio Guzman Lopez, Ivan Archivaldo Guzman Salazar, and Jesus Alfredo Guzman Salazar. Ivan and Jesus are from El Chapo's first wife, Alejandrina Maria Salazar Hernandez. Joaquin and Ovidio are from his second wife, Griselda Lopez Perez. The Chapitos are high-ranking members of the Sinaloa cartel, but it's important to understand that none of them are established as leaders of their father's drug empire. Instead, all 4 run and manage their own operations. Why is that? Because the Mexican and the US authorities successfully managed to create a rift in the Sinaloa cartel with El Chapo's arrest. His second-in-command, El Mayo, is a free man, but by virtue of inheritance, any of his sons should be the next drug kingpin. Internal conflicts aside, the Sinaloa cartel is by no means over. The DEA reported that the cartel was responsible for 80% of drug trafficking into the United States in 2018. That's 2 years after El Chapo was arrested and sentenced to life in prison. Ivan and Ovidio are perhaps the most notorious of the 4. Both of them have been arrested in the past, but were released shortly afterward. Ivan, widely regarded as El Chapito, was arrested on money laundering charges in 2005 and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. However, he was released in April of 2008 by Judge Jesus Guadalupe Luna, who stated in his findings that there wasn't enough evidence to incriminate Ivan on the charges levied against him, besides the fact that he was the son of a drug lord. Judge Luna and other federal judges were later suspended on suspicion of unspecified irregularities in their rulings. This included Luna's decision to set Ivan free. Ovidio, on the other hand, has earned a reputation for himself by playing fast and loose with his father's name and money. While all 4 of the Chapitos are in some way related to the Sinaloa cartel, Ovidio has a greater presence, probably owing to his quick temper and notoriety. Known as El Raton, Ovidio was arrested in 2019 on suspicion of ordering the murder of a singer who refused to perform at his wedding. El Raton's picture was circulated over social media, and more criticism against the justice system followed when Ovidio was released within a week of his arrest. At 23 years old, Jesus Alfredo Guzman, or El Gordo, the fat one, was indicted on drug trafficking charges along with his father by the U.S. District Court of North Illinois. The indictment named Alfredo as a young man with growing influence in the Sinaloa cartel. Authorities believed Alfredo oversaw several of his father's operations while he was imprisoned in 2014, and then again since 2016. In fact, the DEA reported that Alfredo had been living in Colombia for several years to oversee the Sinaloa cartel's cocaine distribution system and establish new channels to bring drugs and narcotics into the United States. Allegations of recruiting drug dealers from drug rehabilitation centers in the United States were also levied against him. Not much is known about Joaquin Jr. besides the fact that he prefers to go by the nickname Güero Moreno. This and the fact that Joaquin and Ovidio formed the Guzman Lopez Transnational Criminal Organization, a syndicate within the Sinaloa cartel that oversees drug operations in 11 laboratories in Colombia and Mexico. Their older brother Edgar was part of the syndicate until he was gunned down in 2008. It is important to understand that while the term Chapitos would imply that the crime collective works as a single unit, they work in 2 or maybe 3 groups. The 2 pairs of half-siblings run their separate criminal syndicates, but they operate within the Sinaloa cartel. So far, there haven't been any disturbances in how they run and manage their operations, but that might change. Save for Joaquin, all of El Chapo's sons were introduced to the Sinaloa cartel's operation at a young age. While their father was a free man, the brothers had no grievances with either El Mayo or their uncle Aureliano Guzman El Guano Loera. This might have been because no one questioned El Chapo's authority while he was free to oversee day-to-day operations, but ever since he was transferred to a maximum security prison, El Chapo's stronghold over the Sinaloa cartel began to dwindle. Again, the 65-year-old drug lord is still alive and healthy. By all means, he is the leader of the cartel, but the cartel members needed a man on the outside. For many, that man would be El Mayo, but with Chapitos gaining stronghold, members of the Sinaloa cartel began to branch out and choose allegiances. Notably, in May 2020, Jose Rodrigo Achiga Gamboa, alias El Chino Antrax, once the head of the Sinaloa cartel's Antrax hit squad and an associate of El Mayo, was found dead after escaping federal probation supervision in San Diego. The Chapitos were rumored to have been behind the murder. This was followed shortly thereafter by a multi-hour shootout that left 16 dead. The shootout was presumably El Mayo's revenge for Gamboa's slaying. The 2 allegiances of the Sinaloa cartel have kept their distance for the last 2 years. Reportedly, El Mayo has a stronger hold on rural areas, while the Chapitos have kept their business booming in urban centers. Altogether, the Sinaloa cartel operates in over 50 countries, going from New York City to Buenos Aires. To recap, the Chapitos are well on their way to becoming as notorious as their father. Allegiance to El Mayo has divided the Sinaloa cartel into branches, but the Chapitos have their place in urban developments. El Chapo is still alive and therefore hasn't named anyone as his successor. Which begs the question, all 4 members of the Chapitos cannot run the Sinaloa cartel as a collective, right? There has to be one unanimous leader. Who will that be? Joaquin Jr., while undoubtedly a force to be reckoned with, has only ever been mentioned in association with his brother Ovidio. Ivan is El Chapito. However, besides his 2005 arrest and 2008 release, not much is known about him either. The only thing the 2 half-siblings have in common are the fentanyl laboratories they built in Culiacan. Alfredo is undoubtedly the most business-savvy of the lot. The DEA estimates that over $1 billion have gone through the United States and Mexico's border, owing to Alfredo's operations. He's the only member of the Chapitos to have been named on the most wanted list in the early 2000s. But Ovidio might just be a step ahead of the others. In addition to his criminal activities, the man has garnered a massive following within the Sinaloa cartel. His 2019 arrest was monumental because members of the cartel essentially besieged the city, calling for his release or there would be dire consequences. President Andrés Manuel López Obrador ultimately ordered that the operation be stopped and that the presumed criminal be set free. Ovidio managed to undermine the strongest man in Mexico. Does this mean he is the strongest man in the country? That's all for today's video. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more cartel and mafia videos. Thanks for watching and stay safe.